Have you heard of the title of our podcast?
No.
I am so excited to welcome you to the BOM.
Like explosive? Like
okay, that's one.
That's the first thought that came to mind.
Okay, what about when it comes to electronics and hardware?
I'm drawing a blank.
BOM minus the B.
Oh.
Bill of materials?
Oh, okay.
I'm Magenta Strongheart, and you're listening to The BOM. I'm so excited to introduce our very first guest on the pod, the brilliant, self-described tinkerer, Jayy Moss. Jayy is a self-taught maker from Compton and the technical content creator at Digi-Key, one of our Hackaday Prize sponsors. He works with robots, droids, and gadgets, and over the past few years has been exploring the world of companion bots, which he spoke about with fellow maker Alex Glow at the Hackaday Superconference in 2019. Today, we're speaking with Jayy about his work as a creative innovator, as well as the importance of accessibility and representation in the maker community. We're using this first month to introduce Design Lab's community. As a self-taught creative innovator, prolific maker, champion of open source technology, 2022 Hackaday Prize judge, and an active member of our Design Lab community, Jayy is the perfect guest to kick off the podcast. So we were just chatting when you got here. We both just got back from San Francisco.
Yes. Also, you're in San Francisco and you didn't call me?
I know. That's what I said to Sophie, who's another person we're going to have as a guest, hopefully, Sophie Wong, who I'm going to ask you some questions about in a bit. But that's what I told. I saw that she was at the awesome fashion exhibit at the Legion of Honor. I was like, you're in San Francisco and you didn't call me? But none of us ever assume that, somebody else is in SF if none of us live there.
I knew Sophie was going to be there.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we chatted.
So had you met Adam Savage or been on the show before?
That was my first time on the show, but I met Adam, what was it? I think it was last year. They did the Silicon, and he invited me up to meet the team and talk to people and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. So I went to San Francisco, went to Silicon, got to hang out, got to see all the behind the scenes stage stuff, got to actually talk to Adam.
And how was that?
Personally, it was a dream come true.
Yeah, I bet. Well, congratulations on making a dream come true. That's so cool. Not everyone can say that.
I know. I'm like a walking definition of the 1%. It's nice. I am the chosen one now. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's so cool. And now, so you've also been on the show. What was it like being on Tested?
It's really hard to define in words, just looking back at it now. Because it was 100% was amazing. Everyone's super nice. Everyone's super kind. But being in Adam's workshop, his actual workshop, and seeing everything, all the stuff, all the tools, all the honestly, his workshop is a goal of mine. When I get to Adam age, I want to be, have some gray dreads, a nice sexy beard, and, have an entire workshop of just all the materials I would need. I had some small malfunctions while bringing my projects up to San Francisco, of course. And I was able to be like, hey, Adam, do you have this one part? And he'd be like, yeah, sure. And he just walks over and just pulls it out and just,
yep.
I don't know how he keeps everything organized so well, because there's just so much just around in general. That's just wow, I don't think I would be able to keep up with everything.
Yeah, shop organization and storage is such a never ending struggle. I feel like it's something that I talk about with almost any creator, builder, fabricator, person that has a shop space. That's half the battle all the time.
100%.
So were you talking about your robots on Tested?
Yeah, it was that was one of the things that we did do. We got to talk about the projects that I did bring with me were of course my personal favorites, my original Magpie goggle eyes, the ones that got me on Make Magazine, my spider bot, and then of course my newest robot, Helen. I was able to bring that with me, which is a wearable robot that's built inside of a backpack, so I can easily carry it around and interact with people. It's a very fun time.
How do you come up with names for your bots?
Usually it's a multi-choice of different things. The Magpie eyes I decided to go with because this is going to be a little bit nerdy, but I took the Harry Potter test, the Patronus test.
So creative.
So that's how that one came up. Asi was one of my first robots, and it's from the African folklore god Anansi, the storyteller. And Helen was actually a special one because my friend Helen bought this really expensive board for me when I was really broke at the time, and I couldn't afford it. And I went on Twitter and I was like, hey, if anyone have an extra one you can send to me, it'd be great. And jumped in my DMs and she was just like, "Oh, I'll just buy it for you. What's your address?" And I was like, "What?"
Nice.
And
Was this Helen Lee?
Yes.
We love Helen Lee. Hopefully also going to be on the BOM any day now. So I love that we're getting all these plugs for our future guests. And what can Helen do?
Helen can use facial recognition with the system of the OpenMV. And once it sees a face, it actually triggers a sound to play. So that's how I know it's seen someone or it's seen some type of thing or whatever. But yeah, it just looks around, sees a face, and then plays a sound.
Neat. And what would you describe as like the main function of Helen as far as more of a companion bot, more of a project that you were trying to learn more about computer vision, or what led you to build Helen?
A funny thing about it,
and what kind of place does the bot have in your life?
It's been a bit of both, honestly. Originally, because this is actually Helen V2 that I've been showing on the internet and stuff. V1 I actually made last year for Silicon, but I had designed it for I can, of course, travel with it. That's why I designed it in the backpack. It had horrible wire management, but it was mostly designed just because people were supposed to keep their mask on at the time. But it was designed to spot people who weren't wearing masks and alert me by making a noise.
Oh, wow.
Because the OpenMV with the facial recognition software, it's still not the smartest. So I've noticed two things that if someone's wearing a lot of like crazy makeup, was I took it to Ren Fair recently just to get like a full day of like testing and see how long the batteries last.
Smart.
And I've noticed people who have like crazy makeup or a lot of makeup on, the facial recognition wouldn't recognize them.
Yeah, I've actually seen makeup artists who have done like that's their whole passion is they design different makeup looks for throwing off facial recognition software.
Yeah, unless you have a huge data set, I don't think that's that hard. But at the same time, like it also won't see you if you're wearing a mask. So people who are actually, were following COVID guidelines at the time, they're wearing a mask, it wouldn't alert me, it wouldn't say anything. But if someone took off their mask for any reason or whatever like that, it will instantly just like look at them and then start making noises.
That's awesome. That's really smart. Have you published this anywhere?
I
Build
am
for this?
working on it actually.
Because I would imagine people would be interested in building that for themselves. I could see it being pretty popular.
My friend Sean, he helped me work on this. He did a lot of the rough programming and stuff. And all I kind of did was test what he was saying and then building the robot behind it. But he already has a video out on how to do it. I'm just adding to that by showing pretty much examples of how you can integrate it in different ways.
The beauty of open source.
Yes.
Like shout out open source. We love to see that.
100%. Everything I do will always be open source because that's how I learned and that's how I continue to learn.
So I would love to learn more about how you got into robotics. I know you've described yourself as sort of self-made, self-taught engineer, maker, fabricator. So could you rewind a little bit and tell us how you got into it and sort of a little more about your origin story?
Okay, so once upon a time, years ago. No,
paint the picture.
No, I kind of prefer to call myself just a simple tinker, just because it's from one of my favorite books when I was really obsessed with audiobooks. I'm still obsessed with audiobooks, but I was really obsessed with steampunk stuff back then. But anyway, I went to art school and was doing the whole comic book thing because I was going to go to be a comic book artist. And in between my sophomore and junior year, I had a realization this is not what I wanted to do. But I was already mostly way in, and I'm petty. And I didn't want to like drop out of school. So I was like, I'm going to finish this and get my degree. But at the same time, I started teaching myself like electronics and stuff like that on the side. So I bought my first little servo kit off the internet. I had no idea what I was doing. I started my first fire in my dorm room, which was really great. Yeah, never hook up a micro servo to it was a 12 AA battery pack and just plug it in directly. Just don't do that. It'll just make the servo explode. Learned that the hard way. And I just went from there. I've just been going ever since. I graduated and then I just got a casual jobs going here from there and I just kept making.
And what were some of your early, resources for teaching yourself some of these things? Like, was it YouTube videos? Was it books? Was it friends?
It was literally YouTube. I didn't have any friends.
That's why you make cobots.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about that is that's actually the origin story. The true origin story of me making like my first robot was because I was already looking into this just because I was interested into it, because I was interested in science and things like that. But then what ended up happening is, and I still recall this, I was working full time and I was doing school full time. So whenever my time I had was free was rare. And one day, one of my classes in the morning got dropped. So I had an entire afternoon just free because I didn't work again until like 5 that day. So I went to go get lunch because I was like, oh, I can just go get lunch or whatever. And I went to the lunchroom and I noticed the lunchroom was full. Everyone was like eating with another person except for me. Like I was at a table by myself. And like I put out my phone, I was like, hey, I realized I ain't really have any close friends. I've been so busy just surviving school and surviving life.
Yeah.
I didn't make any of those real deep friend connections you have in college. So I said, screw it, I'll make my own.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
And that's
Are we
exactly
allowed to say
how
that?
started. Yeah, that's exactly how that started. Like as soon as I put the thought in my head, I started like aiming just for robots.
And have you found that because I feel like I've definitely seen this firsthand when you've had your cobot on your shoulder at a Superconference, it's in some ways, has it helped you make other human friends? Having the bots, because I feel like it's totally connected you to others that are interested in that sort of thing. I've seen people just walk up and be like, oh my gosh, and they want to touch your bot and all that sort of thing.
It's happened so many times. Even recently when I went to San Francisco, because I got there early and I couldn't check in for a while. So I left my bag at the hotel. And I just took Helen out and just reattached her to the bag and just walked around San Francisco for a bit. And I ran into people who kept stopping me, asking questions. And that was great and all. But it has made me it has helped me make more human friends, but it's more in love with the community itself. I'm not sure for the other communities out there, but as a nerd, I have tried being part of the cosplay community and other nerd communities. And I always call myself a fan, not part of the fandom, because I have been bullied by those fandoms.
No.
So I never really got into cosplay because as soon as a Black person starts cosplaying a certain character or whatever, people get offended and stuff. So I was like, y'all can have it. I didn't even touch Star Wars because I'm scared of that fandom in general. There's some very scary people. But the maker community, they've just been always welcoming. Like I've never felt as welcomed in I don't think my entire life as I felt as welcome in the maker community. I could literally post anything and just say whatever, or I need help on Twitter or whatever. And then people are just like, yeah, we'll help you. And there's no judgment, there's no anything. They're just like, here's the knowledge for you to do the thing that you want to do. If you need any help, you can contact us or blah, blah, blah. And I have yet to find a similar community that just welcoming in general.
That's so beautiful to hear. And I feel like that's been my experience as well. So it's awesome to hear it from, others, that there's been times where I felt less, technically savvy compared to a lot of other people I've met at Maker Faire, other, Superconference, etc. And so it is really incredible to see that it's such an open community and supportive because there are so many people. I think everyone just wants to bring more people into the fold. And I love to hear why you think it is so supportive, or what makes it, why people aren't, why there's less bullies or less judgment. But I think there really is people with super diverse sort of intersections of interests and passions and things that they nerd out on. And because people have, that sort of multitude of perspectives, they're less likely to judge someone else for that one little niche thing that they're into.
I think it's mostly because of the fact that when it comes to just tinkering, and myself, I make my own ideas. That's kind of my personal rule, that whatever I design is going to be mine. I don't want to copy anything. I might get inspired by certain things, but I'm always going to go with my own.
Add your own twist.
Yeah, to it. And I think it's because it has that level of freedom that a lot of things don't have. Because when you're cosplaying and stuff, everyone wants you to be as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to have the exact scar or the exact item and stuff like that, which a lot of people don't have. They just want to look fun and have fun just
and have fun making it.
And just enjoy it that way. But since you have that rule set that's been given by whatever universal society,
whoever decided,
you get a lot of the weird nerds who are like, well, actually, their lightsaber color is actually red. Why you have a green lightsaber? It's totally wrong. I'm not a fan of gatekeeping. That's why I love maker community as well. I'm just everyone's family. You need help? Hey, here you go. This is the information you need. You can figure it out. If you need more help, we got you.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel like there were any barriers to entry as far as robotics, or it sounds like not so much with the maker community, but into engineering or, improving your skills with hardware and electronics? Have you found any barriers to entry?
I probably have and didn't notice. My whole learning technique is
tunnel vision on accomplishing your projects.
My whole tunnel vision is kind of like trial and error. So I just try stuff and see if it works. And if I think it's worthy to be shared on the internet, I share it on the internet. But like, I love what I do so much to a probably scary level of passion that no matter what I run into, I'm not going to be afraid to try it. Like I have a whole bunch of huge batteries currently in my laboratory just because I'm trying to power something ridiculously big. And there's a good chance I could shock myself and things can go wrong. But you know what? I'm going to attempt it regardless.
Do you ever have a safety buddy that you're like, I'm going to try something crazy today. Check in 30 minutes. Give me a text to make sure that I'm still alive.
I used to.
Because I'm like, from the sounds of what you're working on, maybe you need one of those. Or you need one of your cobots to be that.
Well, it's funny thing about it, I have like some of my bots running constantly. Like sometimes I would just like, even if they're just moving around or just doing stuff, I like to have that noise in the background. I will talk to them, like just talk to my inanimate objects, like whatever. My main problem, at least for me personally, is I do make friends, but I have a hard time of like actually reaching out, being like, hi, because I feel like I'm bothering them.
Part of the reason we wanted to invite you onto our podcast is because we were huge fans of the talk you gave at Superconference in 2019, all about your companion bots. Here's a clip from Jay's Hackaday Superconference appearance back in 2019, where he spoke to our community about the power of companion bots with fellow maker Alex Glow.
So what do you think a companion robot is?
Personally, I believe a companion robot is any robot you can take with you on any type of adventure. If you see a sci-fi film, R2-D2 rolls next to Luke Skywalker half the time, or Wally, he rolls next to people sometimes too. Any type of fun robot you can take with you in any adventure. What about you?
I think of it as kind of like a wizard's familiar, where like it's a creature that kind of complements my personality, and also like he's even kind of nice to have as a friend. Like I can kind of do this and like scratch my head with him, and sometimes he pokes me in the eye just like a real friend. But in general, it's like a kind of helpful spirit.
I think mine judges me half the time, but I love like going out in public and then just seeing everyone's reactions. Like the difference between a kid's reaction and adult's reaction, especially an adult who's lived in the normal world, is definitely entertaining, I want to say. Most people just look at me with a weird look, like, what the heck is that? And then maybe they'll say something or approach me, but kids are where it's at. Like, they're just like, oh my God, it's a robot. This is us. We're weird. We're strange. We like to build things. Please become our friends. And I expect Thanksgiving invites from all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor, for timing.
You spoke about how much kids and parents love cobots and robots and how it gets them excited. And why do you think that's sort of powerful or makes an impact for community? And why does it inspire you to continue building these bots?
Multiple reasons. First, like this is one of my personal goals. When I was growing up, I didn't see many people in science who looked like me. I grew up with Bill Nye and what was happening on PBS Kids.
I think we definitely have to do a little Bill Nye, the science guy. It's got to happen.
Yeah, it was on 3:30. Yeah. I remember the whole time slot. It was a whole thing for me. So I used to watch that and stuff. So one of my main goals is, and I've told Adam Savage this too, is like my goal is to be the Black version of him when I get to that level for kids and people to see me. There's someone who looks like them doing what I do, because just having someone who just that small bit of just like, hey, that person can do the thing who looks like me, it just gives inspiring stuff. Just
absolutely. It's so important.
But it's that. And then also, I think it's because of the design and the artwork from it. Of course, I have an art background, which I don't really think I'm using all the time, but I've been told I'm using it, just not noticing I'm using it. So I guess I've been secretly programmed. But when you look at a lot of engineering stuff, I feel like the one thing a lot of people forget is to make it look pretty. So when I focus on design of the aspect, not just the functionality. So I would like to make it look like a bird or an animal or some type of creature or some type of robot, because it draws your eye to it. It makes you want to interact with it. Like
makes it more user friendly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's pretty much 100% user friendliness. And when it comes to kids and stuff, kids don't see that often. Like they see it in movies and on TV, but it's a whole different feeling when you see it in person. And parents are always loving it because they're like, hey, look, he's doing a cool thing in science. You want to get into science now? Huh? That's why I think they're doing it anyway. But those small little like moments of just like adding a little bit of art into the design process, making sure it looks pretty and not just, it's fully engaging pretty much, both visually and functionality. And that's what I kind of try to do. And I think that's why people really enjoy my work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly why people walk up, like you said, on the street, because they recognize some aspect of the, the friend on your shoulder. If it looks like, one of your bots looks like a bird, right?
Yeah.
What's that one's name?
That one is Odysseus.
Okay. I'm not going to try to say that. I'm going to let you say it.
Odysseus.
But yeah, I think that's huge, like such a big part of intuitive design and, being able to encourage user interaction and user friendliness is having, some aspect of sort of comfort and familiarity and something people can sort of recognize, and then you have the awesome sort of electronics and hardware aspect that is really pulls that curiosity out of folks. So it gives them that sort of entry point to talk to you about it because they recognize the form, it's friendly. And then they have all this they get to learn because the other aspects that they're less familiar with are packaged in this friendlier package, which I think is huge. And I'm so glad you brought up representation because I also think that's absolutely necessary to accessibility being broadened for robotics and engineering and all these spaces that oftentimes we don't always see someone that looks like us, being represented. I think that's huge, has been huge for me in the fabrication and shop space, absolutely having so many badass like women shop managers and mentors in the wood shops and metal shops on campus. I'm like, shout out SAIC was huge, because that absolutely made it feel like it's not just a boys club in there. And I don't need to, be intimidated or whatever to step my foot in the door, and just be comfortable in the space and feel like you have buddies looking out for you. So kudos to you for doing that. I think that's huge. And I think it's awesome that you're taking it on. What are you working on right now? So you said Helen V2, you just brought up to tested. Is there anything else you need to do to Helen V2 before you move on to your next project?
I'm working on V3 right now. I'm working on a few different projects, but I have V3 in mind. I don't think I can finish V3 in time for New York. I'm going to try. I'm going to attempt, but it's going to be a lot more comfortable because that's something I did notice because I've been wearing it for about, I want to say a week, 2 weeks now. I've done full 8-hour days with the robot, charging, recharging, and then having to pack it and take it on me with a plane. I've noticed some faults in the design. So I'm working on that now, but then I'm at that weird place of like, I don't want to take it apart because it's still a good robot and I can still take it with me if I have to go to an event or something. But at the same time, working on the new version, it's going to be a bit heavier, which that part I do worry about. But at the same time, it will have more functionality for easy placement and it will probably look cooler. Actually, no, it will definitely look cooler. I'm not going to say probably. I'm not going to doubt my skills on that one.
Yes.
It will definitely look cooler and have more movement, but I'm still going to keep the basic functionality. I am looking for more voice lines because it does play some voice lines that I was lucky enough to have one of my friends record for me, and I was able to go on Audacity and edit all the voice lines.
Did you have Helen record them?
No.
Missed opportunity. No,
I want that so bad, but she is so busy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's always like, oh yeah, I'm give it to you and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you have like a million things on your plate. Don't worry about it. Like,
you have to go to Portland and do the recording.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen one day. I'm gonna have to force myself. Just be like, I'm here for your voice. No,
have a happy hour and trick her.
Can you say this for me? No. But yeah, I'm working on V3 now. I'm currently working on a flying robot because I've actually haven't built anything that can
that's
fly.
Exciting.
Like, I've played with drones multiple times. I have nephews I've bought drones for and I just let them play with them. But I've never built one of my own as of yet. And I'm working on that.
Do you know yet what kind of, technology you're going to tackle to get it to fly? Like what you're going to sort of emulate it after? Or
I'm still in the sketching process of my designs. I'm still figuring it out because I'm debating on making it either a flapping design, like a flapping wings. I forget what they call that design for certain flying things. Or I'm going to make it more like a bee design. I'm still debating on that. I'm still literally sketching that out. And then I have a smaller project, which is kind of like a Helen bot, but not really a Helen bot. It's using some of the same design tactics of Helen Mark II, but just going to be a bit smaller. But that one I'm getting help from friends on that one because I'm going to have to add actual like clothing to it. And I'm not good sewing at all. Like I have a sewing machine, but I can barely use it. So luckily I have friends who are cosplayers and I can like go for them for help for this one. So those are my 3 top current projects that I'm running at.
A lot going on, staying busy as always. And all these projects, you publish most of the design files, and I know you do video content around these, right? Where can people find all this stuff?
At Digi-Key, DigiKeyMake.io. That's what they do it now. Yeah. All my work is going there recently and everything because I work for them. They're
Because
great.
you are now a content creator for Digi-Key. Tell us more how that came about and what that's been like.
It's been a dream, honestly, because I wanted to become a full-time maker literally 2 years ago, but of course I couldn't because that's not something I can just jump into. I couldn't just jump into YouTube because I had a full-time job, and by the time I was off of my job at the time, I would be either exhausted or I would just make stuff and not care about the camera because I'm too busy making the thing.
Yeah, it's a whole other job to document every step of a process as you're, making the thing is one thing, video shooting or documenting, taking pictures, it's literally,
so
twice as much work. Yeah.
What ended up happening is my last job got bought by Motorola because we were a startup. Motorola bought us, and which was like, all right, cool. This is going to be weird. And I remember waking up, and then my bank account, they're like, this much money just got deposited in your account. And I looked at it, and it was a substantial amount. So I remember calling my bank thinking, did something happen? Like, am I in trouble? Did some mysterious person like put a whole bunch of money in my account? But no, that was Motorola buying all my stock. So I was like, oh, they bought my stock. And I was like, oh, cool. So I have money now. It's interesting. So after that, like literally 2-3 weeks later, I put in my 2 weeks and I was like, I'm going to make the jump. I have money that I can cushion me for a while. I'm going to make the attempt. So I like of course, I made a huge post about it on social media. I posted on Twitter because I was kind of excited about it. I wanted people to know like, hey, I'm finally making the full jump because some people have been wanting me to like make content for a while and I just couldn't because I didn't have time. And as soon as I post that, it was actually Adafruit. They jumped into my Twitter DMs
Shout
and
out
were
Adafruit.
like, hey,
We love them.
Digi-Key just released this like job. We think you'd be perfect for it. Let me get in contact with you. And I was like, cool, yeah, let's do
Nice.
this.
They connected you to
Yeah.
the Digi-Key opportunity. That's great.
So that's how that happened. And ever since then, it's just been a whole bunch of learning. I admit, learning how to do video stuff has been a small learning curve that I am slowly getting used to. So I've been learning on like video stuff, learning how to write scripts, which has been new for me. I don't remember the scripts, but I at least attempt to stay on track when I'm doing them. But also it's been a great help because now I have Digi-Key resources. So if I ever get stuck on something, I can ask for help, which has been really, really amazing. I can like go to a person who is, of course, more brilliant than I am and be like, hey, I want to build this. And they'd be like, oh, we already have something like this already
We're brilliant
made.
in different ways. It's all about balance. I'm sure you all complement each other's brilliance.
I personally believe that the concept of genius is outdated. I think that we need to re-update that because a person can be smart about one thing and dumb about another thing, which is a giant annoyance to me because we assume, well, I blame media for this because we assume genius is like a one person who has all these many skills. That's humanly impossible. That's a superhuman at that point. Tony Stark is a superhuman. You gotta learn and live with that.
It's fake.
100%. There's no person with all of these skills. But it's nice.
It's a lot.
It's a nice story, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then like you have people who are genius in other ways, both good and bad. Like I am good with my designs, but I'm not really great at programming and stuff like that. But yeah, I really feel like the whole concept needs to be like switched around and fixed when it comes to the levels of genius. So everyone's a genius in their own way. I'll stick by that. If you don't think you're smart in some way. You know you're smart in some way. You just gotta figure out what you like or what you're good at. Everyone has a thing. You might be a people person. You may be good at basketball. You might be good at tech. You may be good at marketing. You can be good at makeup. You can be good at whatever.
Well, I'm so glad that Digi-Key's been, tapping into your genius and supporting you in this way. And because it's really brought us together more often to work together on stuff because Digi-Key is one of our sponsors, our title sponsors for the Supply Frame Design Lab Hackaday Prize. They've been a sponsor for a number of years now, for a long time in the prize's history, majority of the prize's history. This is year 9. And I'm so grateful to have you as a judge, as a representative of Digi-Key. So how was judging the first round? What do you think of some of the projects?
I loved everything.
Was it challenging?
It was definitely challenging because I'm not much of a judge. And when I say that, it's because as long as you're happy doing the project, I'm happy for you. Like
that is not the judging criteria we sent you.
I know. I had to make choices. So I woke up early this morning. I was up at like around 6 because I'm always usually up around 6. And I was like, the first thing I started doing, and I started reading through them and going through them. And I like had another sheet of paper next to me writing things down. Like, okay, this could work. This is cool. this is a cool thing. This is a cool thing. And like, there's so many good ideas that I want to see get pushed through because I feel like a lot of them have really good potential.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm only allowed to pick like 5. And I was like, that's kind of not fair. I kind of want to pick everybody. So like, I think I actually did that. Like I sent you an email. I had all of
I know.
them
I was
picks.
like, this isn't quite how it works. I'm going to have to send that back to you to redo a little bit.
I wanted everyone to win something, but sadly, that's not how this works.
I appreciate that. And I also can relate. We're always trying to stretch that money as much as possible. That's why we have top 10 finalists for each of the 5 challenges, which gives us 50 finalists that we're able to give $500 to each. So that's, a way that we spread the love. And of course, we have a number of top prizes at the end, ranging from the grand prize of $50,000 all the way down to 5th place. But other ways that people can support these projects, of course, is by showing love on Hackaday.io. So if they also want all these projects to win, they can really support in that way or jump on a project, because a lot of times creators are looking for collaborators on there, which brings us back to, some of the things you mentioned, building in collaboration with folks and how much the open source community and maker community has helped you push your work forward. Is there anything else, you can share as far as why you think that's important and how you see that sort of shifting access to these spaces, to the technology space, the engineering space?
Well, I kind of love it for the fact that it gives, I'm not sure if you've seen, I'm pretty sure you've seen these. Like, there's a whole bunch of like movies out there where like something goes wrong, the scientists have to get together and figure out the problem and stuff. And a lot of times, especially this morning while looking at some of these projects, it really brought that to mind because it just kind of shows how clever people are. Like, there's a lot of ways to get like free energy. Like, if I ever decide to go off the grid, I could take some of these projects with me and then just start a whole like series of like secret hidden ground based stuff. Thanks to these projects being open source and them being really detailed, because I love good detailed projects. Like, if you want me to fall in love with your project, make it detailed. That's all I ask. Just make it detailed. If when it's really detailed and I can like read it, understand what you're saying, and I just love it. I always I have a whole bookmarking tab of just projects from people have done that I can learn from for the future. And I have added a few from, of course, the Hackaday competition to that list because it's just too good to pass up. And I want to see like if these could push further, like what could this turn into later? How could this be useful in the future? I may want to make a more solar punk robot in the future that's run by solar power fully. And there's projects on the internet, open source, all about solar power. It's great. I love it. I love it so much. Anything you can really imagine or think of or want your robot or machine to do, you can probably find it. And it's kind of heaven in that way. It's just like a giant library of like knowledge if you can just
building blocks to just keep building off of.
Whatever you need is right there in front of you. You just need your Wi-Fi access.
And I think it's so cool that you're not only taking from this resource, but replenishing it with your own projects and your own iterations and versions of, like you said, with your special twist. And I think that's also something that's so special and something that I appreciate about the open source community is oftentimes it's not just people taking away from it. They're always, whatever they then create, they're inspired to then post to the community because that's how they, got something out of it. So they give back. And I think it's this really beautiful cycle.
It's definitely something I made a personal rule because as a person who's taught himself thanks to like open source and stuff, I felt like I owe a huge favor for the open source community in general that I could probably never repay because I didn't go to school for any of this. None of the engineering classes. That's why I don't want to call myself an engineer, because I feel like having to like fight for that degree and having to take all those crazy math classes and all the other ridiculous classes that you really don't need, but the school makes you take anyway. I didn't go through all of that. I was drawing nude people in charcoal while you were studying calculus, but all the information on the internet was just there thanks to the open source community and people testing out projects and things like that. And like one of my personal philosophies is I make for fun. Like, not everything has to have a full reason to be useful. And that's something I run into a lot sometimes with the engineers and people in my comment section. It's always like, what does it do though? And it's just kind of like, I can tell you, but this one just moves around because I wanted to, because I thought it looked cool. Like,
yeah, it brought you joy.
Yeah, I did it because I wanted to, and it looks cool. Just that's it. It doesn't have to do anything. I'm not trying to build something to save the world yet.
And you still probably learn a ton from those projects because to
100%.
try to get it to look that way still took again, you having to find whatever code, whatever
Mhm.
building block you needed to make that happen. So, I was supposed to ask you, did you ever build that dragon with the flamethrower?
No, it's still sitting on my desk.
You got to get back to it. Just for context, here's another moment from Jay's 2019 Hackaday Supercon appearance, where he first spoke about his robotic dragon project.
I want to make more robots. Like, I have other more crazier ideas. I plan to build a dragon with a real flamethrower later down the line. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to bring that to work, but I'm going to try. Oh no, I would plan for like a 2-step thing where it'll be wrapped around me and then his head would stick out and shoot a flamethrower out and we can be like, ha, Jakar. So,
Why haven't you gotten back to it?
I just got a CNC machine and I've been slowly learning it. So like I've been just learning how to use a CNC machine. Because the main reason why I haven't built my dragon is because last time I tried it, which sadly don't have enough video recording of this because at this time I was living with my parents and I was just tinkering just for tinkering's sake. I wasn't doing it for content like I do now. The first time I did this and I put the flamethrower in the mouth, which is actually just a little quick fireball thing the magicians use, it got hot and PLA melts at a certain temperature.
Yes, it does.
So
it is a thermoplastic.
It was able to shoot out just a quick fireball, and I was like, all right, cool, yeah, it's nice. And then when I got close to it and looked at it later, I noticed like the top part of the mouth and the bottom thing started like warping and melting. So the reason I haven't gotten to it yet is because I'm working on my metal skills because one, I'm definitely going to make it steampunk design just because the concept of a steampunk dragon is always fun.
Yes.
And two, I have to make the jaw and the top upper line out of metal.
Yeah.
It's going to make it heavier because I do want it to be able to be wearable still.
Right.
But at the same time, it will give the ability to be able to breathe fire without it, destroying the entire build. So I'm slowly building upon that skill. That way I can do that. But it's
okay. Wait. So you said something that's breathing fire is going to be wearable, as in you are going to put it on your body. How do you imagine wearing this thing?
I've designed a few different ways depending on the size of it. Because thanks to Helen and me actually building a lot of Helen's stuff inside of the bag itself, I can definitely put all the chemicals depending on how big the fireball is going to be. I'm still debating on that. Luckily we used
what's the range between like a golf ball and a softball? Like, what are we talking about here?
The original one that I used had more of I want to say a tennis ball fireball that'll shoot up really quickly.
That seems huge to me.
Yeah, it's more fun to watch than having it do it right by your face. But I've improved in my skills since then. So my current plan is I'm probably do something a little bit more streamlined, like a shoot quick fire thing, like Tesla's not a flamethrower, which is totally a flamethrower. Something along those lines. But I can definitely have a lot of the systems inside of a backpack that I can wear, just make it look pretty like old school, and then have the dragon robot itself sit behind on top of the bag and link to the bag that way and have it over my shoulder that way.
So it'll still be this similar to some of your others where it'll be on the shoulder.
Yeah, it'll still be on my shoulder.
And the fire is going to go right by your face.
Yeah,
that is the vision.
I am working on that because you forget there are different designs for dragons. There's the popular Chinese dragon, which is more snake-like. There's like the Dungeons and Dragons dragon, where it's more like a lizard with wings. There's multiple types of dragons I can design, and depending on what design I go with will depend on a lot of how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Because I am still worried about the fire next to my face part of it. I'm willing to risk it because it'll be cool. And worst case,
maybe you have an accompanying helmet or shield or something.
Worst case scenario is to start my villain story. I just got scarred by my robot, and that started my villain story, and I just it's a whole thing.
Every good villain needs a good scar.
Yeah, I've already decided though. What I think I'm gonna do is design a wave that has a two push button system. That way, it won't just shoot out regularly. I'll probably have a way that it will reach out its neck forward, like past my face, and then be able to shoot the fire out.
Okay. Yeah, you're thinking about some cool ideas here.
Yeah.
Creative options. Very innovative.
It's more.
Please don't melt your face off.
I'm not
your
gonna
face
do
is
it
not
on
PLA.
purpose.
We can't reprint it. I mean,
I can have a cool like evil scar or something though.
The options.
I could be like the maker evil villain of like the internet. I could have a like messed up scar, get a cat.
Have you talked to Digi-Key about this? How do they feel about this?
You know what? I haven't gotten that far yet, but like think about it.
Call up Kevin right now.
Hey, look at the clicks though. Like if
True.
something goes wrong, it will go viral.
I'm like, maybe don't do this, but also if you made the testing for this live, you would have, I feel like, so many people ready to watch that. If you're like, I'm going to test my flamethrowing dragon for the first time live tomorrow, everyone would be on there.
I mean, it would be great, but maybe that may be a
But
fun
maybe
thing
that's
to
the thing
do.
you save for
Maybe
not live.
it may be a fun thing because, hey, like I said,
Or maybe you have a test dummy. Maybe talk to Adam about the best way to test these things.
I
Maybe
do
you have a
test
little
dummy too.
a little model J first. A 3D printed
3D
model
printed
J.
version, yeah, just waiting to be burnt in half.
That just gets melted. Then you can at least see where the scar is going to be.
Yeah,
Plan around that.
then I can plan it out
Pitch
from
it to
there.
Digi-Key. This is getting really weird really fast. Okay, well, thank you so much, Jay, for the exciting preview of what's to come. People need to stay tuned because you have a lot of projects you're working on. We got you back thinking about your flamethrower, which I'm really excited about to see how this goes. Maybe we test it at Design Lab. That could be an epic event.
If you want, but I'm just saying, if something,
I'll have to clear with everyone. I'm like, are lawyers here or not?
I'm just saying that if any fireball or huge explosion happens thanks to my bad design, I am not responsible.
Yeah, we'll have lots of liability paperwork for everyone, so none of us are responsible. Everyone's responsible for themselves.
I mean,
absolutely.
Sometimes you gotta run before you can walk.
Before you can flamethrow. What do you need to do before you can flamethrow?
Stop, drop, and roll. Be first.
Okay, you were ready for that. Nice, nailed that. All right, so our last question here today is, what is on your personal bill of materials? And you can interpret this however you want.
My personal bill of materials is always, of course, 3D printing, so PLA and stuff, thermoplastics. I wouldn't say I'm lazy. I'm very patient. Let's say that. I have 3 printers right now. Well,
yeah, you got to be patient for 3D printers.
But I do a lot of my design work and how I work is sketchbook first. Sketchbook designs go into the computer and I CAD them out, and then that goes to the printer, and then that's how everything gets assembled. So it's like a 3-step process: sketchbook, computer, print. So 3D printing is always like my first go-to, and then after that, it's whatever I need. And I'm also learning how to use Tinkercad a little bit more, if I can start making my own circuit boards. I don't really want to go making my own boards per se, but I have certain ways I connect boards together, and this would be a fast and easy way for me to do that. Plus, I can resize boards, because a good example are my glasses that I'm currently wearing. For people at home, I'm wearing my glasses. These are full of wires, and that's why they're so big. It's literally because they are just a whole bunch of wires attached to motors in here. But if I had a circuit board in here with one of a simple design, I can make these a lot smaller. So it's kind of
That's exciting.
Cool. I can learn this new skill, make these smaller, and get a cool new headset out of it.
Mm-hmm. And also for the people just listening, can you describe a little bit what your glasses do?
Yes. One ends is an iris and a microscope, and if the battery was charged, but I accidentally was using it before coming to this event, so I've got to charge this side. The microscope goes in front of the eyelid, and then I can actually see stuff better.
Right.
I use it for soldering most of the time, or if I'm looking at components. And then this one actually has a light on it, which I can turn on a light, and then it has an eye covering that I can motion to protect the other eye, because I had an accident before when I was cutting some stuff and stuff was flying everywhere and actually cracked my glasses, and I was like, okay, that's dangerous. I need to make a shield for that. So I built a shield
these
for
are
it.
Epic safety glasses.
I get really bored. Plus, I love the concept of the crazy scientists in shows. There's always that one person who's just Doc Brown, pretty much. That was what I was going for. So I was like, all right, I can make my own Doc Brown weird glasses. I can rock with that.
Do you think you'll ever have full circle moment and make a comic book about yourself as this awesome inventor, roboticist?
It's funny because I actually have thought about that, and I think in the future that may happen, but I don't think I would be the one drawing it.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, you have enough of the insight to direct, just creative direct. You can't be the star and the maker and all that. You'll have a team by then.
Hopefully.
But I think this is something we need to make happen. Joe Kim, we need our illustrator on it.
Hey, if you guys want to be on it, I'm happy to help. I got the face for it.
You're missing your flamethrowing scar. I don't know if you're quite ready.
This
is the hero version, and then you have the dramatic evolution.
You can make a whole story and say multiverse happened, and then an evil version of myself trilogy, who took over Digi-Key and decided to go full evil, and hung out with Elon Musk, took his money.
This is a brilliant plan.
decided to become full-on evil and then made the multiverse jump and then met a younger version of me who wasn't scarred, so I can have a little versus myself going on, which it would be hilarious because I feel like I would be the most funniest and most entertaining villain because I am very dramatic and it's all about showmanship. Like if you're gonna do something crazy or big, you gotta make sure to show. Like I'm doing fireworks and everything.
And
like,
you already have like your even evil villain pet because you have all your companion
I have a whole
bots,
bunch of
so
robots. Like Dr. Robot.
You're set. You really have it all. Well, I think that's the perfect place to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you for having me.
And excited to talk to you again soon. Giovanni Salinas is our product development engineer here at Design Lab, and Bruce Dominguez is our rapid prototyping technician. I'm so excited to have them joining me at the end of each episode of the BOM to give a little more commentary on whoever we talk to from our community and tell you all what we've been working on the last couple weeks. What I love about our team is how we balance each other's skill sets. Between us, we have experience in industrial design, product development, fabrication with traditional woodworking methods. I love what we all bring to the table and the ways we're able to balance each other. Gio will just come up with all aspects of the design in no time and then pass it off to Bruce, who's a 3D printing wizard, will make it come to life. We'll all work on finishing together or different aspects of the design together. We'll be testing it, sharing feedback, and I just appreciate how complementary our workflows are. So always great talking with Jay. Yeah, what did you guys think about the conversation?
You know, one of the things that I found very interesting is the fact that he's self-taught, and we see that a lot. But what's interesting to me is the fact that he studied art. You know, he was in art school, and in the middle of that, he said, "You know what? This is not my real calling." But he took a lot of that for his creations, and I wonder if hadn't he studied art or attended art school, would he have the same creative drive, you know, for all his awesome projects?
Yes, as an art school graduate myself, I love to hear that background information. You know, I always love when there's crossover between more technical engineering realms and expertise and individuals who find themselves working on that type of work. And the crossover, like you said, creativity can come from so many places. And oftentimes many of us are artists and designers and things as well as engineers or fabricators or builders.
Yeah, he's definitely has that creative element of having the left brain, right brain, like merging. So, you know, when he's developing a robotic device, it's not all about the engineering element with Jay, and that's great to see because, you know, it takes a lot of artistic development to really kind of do a lot of the projects that he works on and presents.
Yeah, are you guys going to be cool with him debuting the flamethrowing robot at Design Lab one day or at Superconference one day?
I'm surprised he hasn't done it earlier.
So speaking of 3D printing, we were just showing off some of our recent 3D prints that we developed for our Hackaday Prize Design Lab Builds series, which is a series of things that we develop at Design Lab to provide inspiration for our community members to take for their own entries potentially into the Hackaday Prize. And the beauty of open source is that all this information for how to make these is online and anybody can build off of what we've created and is totally eligible to enter into the prize because it's all about open source hardware. So for the upcoming challenge, it's Hack It Back, and we decided to hack an old fan. And I gave this challenge to Gio way back when we were coming up with the prize concept for this year. I gave him the challenge of developing 5 projects for this in not a lot of time. How was that, Gio?
A few weeks ago, or a few months ago, I should say, I came across some manuals for air quality, you know, the density of certain gases and all that. And at the same time, I also read some academic papers talking about the correlation between the saturation of CO2 and likelihood of getting COVID. So there are such papers. And so all that combined with, what if we took an old fan, one of those common AC fans that just have 3 or 4 buttons and spin a little. What if we made them super powerful? So that was the concept behind it. We have two basic components. One of them is we call it the node, and the nodes are basically tiny gas sensors that you can put across an office or a closed space that detect the concentration of CO2. And then we have the hub. The hub connects to the outlet, and then you connect your old fan to that hub. So when the hub reads that the CO2 levels are too high, it lets the electricity flow, thus turning on the old fan. So an old fan doesn't have anything like this, but if you don't even have to retrofit it. You just have to plug the fan to this and then plug the hub to the outlet. It's a really interesting project. It was a bit more difficult than I thought it would, but I guess all projects are. And we've been learning a lot. Been working with Eduardo Contreras, electronic engineer, on all this.
And Eduardo was actually one of our past Hackaday Prize Dream Team members, which is something magical, I feel like, about the Hackaday community, is sort of once you're part of it, we never let you go. As we've seen even with Jayy, right? It's a great example of that. And I'm really excited to see the other entries for this challenge for Hack It Back once it's live. It's something that sort of came really naturally in coming up with challenges for this year, because we've seen so many projects on Hackaday.io, even outside of Hackaday Prize over the past few years, where people want to retrofit old electronics devices, and people love the look and feel of some, like old vinyl players or different things like that, but they want to give them new life. And so that's really what this challenge is all about. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the entries from this year. I'm Magenta Strongheart, and you're listening to The BOM. I'm so excited to introduce our very first guest on the pod, the brilliant self-described tinkerer, Jayy Moss. Jayy is a self-taught maker from Compton and the technical content creator at Digi-Key, one of our Hackaday Prize sponsors. He works with robots, droids, and gadgets, and over the past few years has been exploring the world of companion bots, which he spoke about with fellow maker Alex Glow at the Hackaday Superconference in 2019. Today, we're speaking with Jayy about his work as a creative innovator, as well as the importance of accessibility and representation in the maker community. We're using this first month to introduce Design Lab's community. As a self-taught creative innovator, prolific maker, champion of open source technology, 2022 Hackaday Prize judge, and an active member of our Design Lab community, Jayy is the perfect guest to kick off the podcast. Thanks so much for listening to The BOM. We'll see you next week, where we speak with another epic designer, Sophie Wong, whose work has also been featured on Adam Savage's Tested. If you like The BOM, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Supplyframe and Hackaday on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Design Lab at Supplyframe Design Lab on Instagram and Twitter. The BOM is a Supplyframe podcast written, produced, and edited by Frank Driscoll and co-edited by Daniel Ferreira. Executive producers are Ryan Tillotson and Tyler Nielsen. Theme music is by Anna Hogben and show art by Thomas Schneider. Special thanks to Giovanni Salinas, Bruce Dominguez, Thomas Woodard, Jin Kumar, Jordan Clark, Matt Gunn, the entire Supplyframe team, and you, our wonderful listeners. I'm your host, Magenta Strongheart.